Hello, I'm Justin Porter. The Genocidle book of Joshua. It takes about 2 hours to read. It has 24 chapters. And the last verse of Joshua chapter 1 is talking about basically killing anyone who doesn't obey the voice of Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him. Chapter 3, the walls of Jericho. They march around the walls of Jericho and the walls fall down and they rush in for a genocide. We have chapter 7 of Joshua where Achan steals gold bars and linen after a genocide. Israel goes out and kills all these non-worshipping ones who don't have the same God, and they go in and kill everyone. And in chapter 10, very interesting, in chapter 10, the sun stands still for 24 hours so the Israelites can genocide the Jebusites, the Hittites, the Amalekites, whoever it was. So that's impossible for the sun to stand still for 24 hours. We know that the earth goes around the sun. The sun doesn't move. So for the sun to stand still for 24 hours, the earth would have had to stop in its orbit. And the earth goes around the sun, I think it's 166,000 kilometres per hour. So for the earth to stop at that speed, 166,000 kilometres per hour, stop suddenly, we would all get thrown off the earth. As Galileo discovered in the year 1610 that the earth goes around the sun, not the sun around the earth. See, the Bible teaches you how to get to heaven, but it doesn't teach you how the heavens work. So for the earth to stand still after it's going 166,000 kilometres an hour or miles, I think it could have been miles. An hour, everyone, we get thrown off the earth. The ocean, we'd all be dead, and the ancient Israelites would be dead too. So that's impossible because, as I said, Galileo discovered that the earth goes round the sun, not the sun round the earth, and he was going to get burned at the stake, but he recanted and he was under house arrest, And the other one, chapter 2, I skipped. I forgot to mention chapter 2. A river dams up. So basically the Israelites want to cross a river so they can do a genocide. So the river dams up, stops flowing, and walls up into a dam, a bit like when God parted the Red Sea. And the Israelites cross the river so they can genocide. That's in chapter 2. And also in chapter 11, which is interesting, chapter 11, it says that God made the enemies of Israel, stubborn. So God deliberately made Israel's enemies stubborn so they could kill them and show how good God was and how powerful God is. A bit like Pharaoh. Pharaoh wanted to release the Israelites in Exodus, but Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart. Jehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart. So Pharaoh didn't release them because Jehovah said, oh no, wait a minute, I've got 3 more of these plagues to show you, And also in Achan steals gold bars and purple linen, and the Israelites. In the book of Joshua, it's a little bit different than when they genocide people in the book of Genocide, they kill everyone, men, women, children, and young virgins. They even kill the young virgins and the animals and devote everything to destruction. And they're not allowed to take anything of their the victims of their genocide. So what they do, Achan, he finds some gold bars and linen. He buries it in his tent. Jehovah gets really angry. He gets really cheesed off. And so when they go out for another genocide, they lose. They say, what's up? How come we lost the genocide? Jehovah said someone's stolen something that was of mine. So Achan owns up to it. He owns up. So what the Israelites do to Achan, they stone him to death. They stone his wife to death, and they stone his children to death, and they stone all his animals to death. His cow, his donkey, his horse, they all get killed because he stole from Jehovah, because he stole some stuff from the victims of the genocide, buried them in his tent. So, yep, that's what happened. Cities of refuge in chapter 20, we have cities of refuge. If an Israelite accidentally kills a fellow Israelite, accidentally, like manslaughter, they were to go to a city of refuge, like a safe house, and stay there, because the avenger of blood, the family member who they accidentally killed, if they want to come and get vengeance, they can't, because they're in a safe city of refuge, so they can't get their vengeance out. They stay there, but if they leave the city of refuge and get killed, it's their own fault, while the court case goes on to see if it was manslaughter or was it deliberate murder. And if you accidentally kill an Israelite, that's manslaughter, but God allows you to kill anybody else who doesn't worship Jehovah. So anyone who has a different God, if you have Malachite, a Pezite, a Jezusite, a Hittite, whoever. And also in chapter 23, it says don't make friends with the enemies of Jehovah. So don't make friends with the nations who worship other gods, because the nations worship other gods. They're not real gods. It's only Yahweh, Jehovah. He's the real God. So don't form friendships with nations outside of Israel. So basically that was the whole book, 2-hour book, and I just condensed it into 8 minutes. 8 minutes. So that's all I wanted to talk. That's a genocidal book of Joshua. And and when you look at the book of Joshua, when you see Nazi Germany, what they did, or Russia, what they're doing to Ukraine, or the Hutus and the Tutsi in Africa back in 1994, is genocide. It's genocide, killing each other and taking each other's land, because God's with us. The Germans on their belt buckle had Gott mit God is with us. The Americans on their dollar notes have In God We Trust. We have the right God. You've got the wrong God. We can take your land because God's with us and we're God's people. And you can listen to the book of Joshua on YouTube, which I did. I didn't actually read the book, but you can listen to it on audio book on YouTube. Just YouTube it, any Bible book. And before you listen to the Bible book or any of the 66 books of the Bible, before you listen to it, trust in your heart and use your brain, use your logic, trust in your heart. I know the Bible says he who trusts in his own heart is foolish. But I say, if you don't trust in your heart, you are foolish. Don't trust in ancient Bible writers who lived thousands of years ago, who used to believe that the sun went around the earth. Trust in your heart before you read the Bible and just say, imagine you're a parent, you're God, you're the parent. God is the parent of the human race, and human beings are God's children, right? Would you treat your children like Yahweh treats his children? And why would Yahweh play favourites with the Israelites? Why are they his favourite people? And why did the nations around Israel worship other gods? If Yahweh really was the true God, they'd all know and worship Yahweh, because Yahweh hides himself. God hides himself in ancient books that were written thousands of years ago. And if Yahweh God was really true, the other nations around Israel would know and worship him. But they had their own gods. They had their own beliefs. And that's all I wanted to say. And thank you very much for watching my video. Bye then.